Chapter 10 of The Clue of the New Pin by Edgar Wallace. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Yoganand. The Clue of the New Pin. Chapter 10. Ursula had only arrived a few minutes before Tab reached the Central Hotel, and the ban against reporters must have been lifted, because Ursula saw him immediately. She took the case from his hand slowly, and with a face from whence all expression had fled. "Yes, this is mine," she said. She lifted the lid. "Where are the jewels?" she asked quickly. "The police have those." "The police?" "It was found in the strong room of Jessie Trusmere, the old man who was murdered on Saturday afternoon," said Tab. "Have you any idea how they came into his possession?" "None," she said emphatically. "I did not know Mr. Trusmere." He told her about the murder, but apparently she had already read the details and seemed loath to discuss the matter until he told her the part that he himself was taking in the tracking of the murderer. "Where did you find these?" she asked. "In his strong room. The curious thing is, we turned out all the boxes, ran over all the papers, and found nothing of importance. It was only by accident that we discovered this case. It was in a little drawer, pushed far under one of the shelves." "You went through all papers?" she repeated mechanically. "What sort of papers? Did he have many?" "Quite a number," said Tab, surprised that after definitely and decidedly changing the subject she had returned to it voluntarily. "Old bills and accounts, copies of letters, and that sort of thing. Nothing of any very great importance." "Why do you ask?" "I had a friend once, a girl who was interested in Mr. Trusmere," she answered. "She told me that he was keeping a number of documents connected with the family." "No, I don't remember her name. She was an actress I met on tour." "There was nothing in his papers except purely business records," said Tab. Tab was very sensitive to atmosphere. He could have sworn when he came into the room that she had keyed herself up to meet him. There was no reason why she should, except the reluctance to discuss the robbery, and she had maintained that tense attitude throughout the interview. Now he was certain that she was relieved. He sensed, rather than saw, a relaxation of mind. Probably it was only his imagination, but imagination had never played such a trick upon him before. "When are the police going to give me my beautiful jewels?" she asked almost gaily. "I'm afraid they will retain those until after the court proceedings are through. There must be an inquest, you know." "Oh," she said, and seemed disappointed. Then again she returned to the murder. "It seems all so dreadful and mysterious," she said quietly. "How do you account for it, Mr. Holland? One of the newspapers says that it was impossible that any other hand than Mr. Trusmere's could have locked the door, and yet they are equally certain that he did not commit suicide. And who is the man Brown, for whom they are searching?" "He is an adventurer from China who was at some time or other a sort of secretary to old Trusmere." "A secretary?" she said quickly. "A man. How do you know that?" "Brown told me himself. I saw him the day before the murder. Apparently Trusmere had treated him badly, and had held him off for years by paying him a sum of money." She bit her lip in thought. "Why did he come back?" she said half to herself. "He might have lived comfortably on the allowance. I suppose it was a good allowance?" she added quickly. "That's all you want to see me about, Mr. Holland?" "You may have to go to the police station to identify the jewellery," said Tab, "and they are pretty certain to ask you how the box came into Mr. Trusmere's possession." She did not answer this, and he left her with an odd feeling of uneasiness. Going to report the result of his interview to Carver, he found that energetic man crawling about the vault on all fours. He looked over his shoulder at the sound of Tab's footsteps. "Was Saturday wet or fine?" he asked. "It was a particularly fine day." "Then this must be a blood impression." He pointed to the floor, and Tab went on his knees at his side. There was a faint half-moon printed on the edge of the concrete. "That's the edge of a heel, and a rubber heel," said Carver, "which proves beyond any doubt whatever that somebody came into the vault after the old man was killed, probably went close to the body to see the effect of the shot, and in doing so got a little of the blood on a part of his heel. The rubber accounts for his coming on Trusmere without the old man hearing him. There's no other impression that I can find. Which brings us back to the question of the duplicate key." "There was no duplicate key. You can cut that idea right out," said Carver, getting up and dusting his knees. "I've been into the matter very thoroughly with the manufacturers, and although they each claim to have the best kind of lock and are naturally inclined to take an uncharitable view of their rivals, they say that the maker of a particular key is reliable and he says that it was in the hands of his most trustworthy man, and that no second key was ever made. Not only that, but no drawing of the key was kept. In fact, the lock, just before it was fitted, was altered by the manufacturer's expert here on the premises. I am seeing him tomorrow, but from what I learn on the telephone, he says that we can dismiss from our minds the possibility of there being a duplicate. But Walters hadn't finished his job, and even if he had, he could not have fashioned a key that would have unlocked this door, clever as he was. No, the bloodstained key is the key that locked the door. What's more, it's a key which the old man carried on a thin silver chain round his neck. We found the broken ends of the chain in his clothing after the body was searched. Then again, there are bloodstains, both on the inside and on the outside of the door. That is a most remarkable feature of the case, that after the murder, the door was locked both from the inside and the outside. At one period, after the death of Trasmere, the murderer must have been locked in this vault with him. If I did not know it was an absolute impossibility, I should say that it was locked finally from the inside. The key was placed on the table, and the murderer disappeared through some secret entrance, which we know very well does not exist. Have you tested the roof? I have tested everywhere. Roofs, walls, floor, and door, said Carver. A fact, which may or may not be important, is that there is about 1/8 of an inch of space between the bottom of the door and the floor. If the key had been found on the floor, there would be no mystery about the matter, because the murderer could have pushed it under, and with a flick of his finger sent it into the middle of the room. Here is the situation in a nutshell. He ticked off the points on his finger. Trasmere is murdered in a vault, the door of which is locked. The murderer is either Brown, who has threatened him, or Walters, who has been robbing him. Inside the locked vault is found the only key which could open or close it. Note this particular, that Trasmere was shot in the back. Why is it important? As proving that at the moment of his murder, Trasmere was in no fear. He was not expecting either to be shot or hurt. And now we add to the situation, which is sufficiently baffling, the discovery in the vault of a jewel case belonging to an eminent actress, from whom it has been stolen on the very day of the murder. This is a case which I must take to a coroner's jury. It doesn't look very good to me. It did not look very good to the coroner's jury, which contented itself a week later with returning a verdict of willful murder against some person or persons unknown, and added a rider expressing its dissatisfaction with the inefficiency of the police. The day that verdict was returned, Ursula Artfin fainted twice in the course of a performance and was carried home to a hotel in a condition of collapse. The end of Chapter 10.